Okay, welcome everyone. Today is April the 10th. It is 6:02 p.m. This is the meeting of the Planning Advisory Board. We will call it to order. The approval of the agenda is the first order of business. Is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion is approved. The agenda is approved. The next is the minutes that were passed out earlier this week. I need a motion to approve the minutes from March 13th.
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Aye. Abstention. I was not present at the meeting.
Okay, one abstention. Any nays? Motion is approved. Okay, the first order of business is the final deliberations of the capital budget and program for year 2025. And we would like to have an update from the budget office. I'll turn the floor over to Naomi.
I think Naomi was having some difficulty. She couldn't hear us. Is that still the case? Dawn, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
We're having a little technical difficulties. We're trying to get Naomi live.
Naomi's muted, but is it because you're muted, Jessica?
We're muted on the big TV just so there's no echo.
Okay,
The owl is what's picking up our microphone.
okay.
But I'm gonna log out and come back in.
Now, here you are.
Can you hear us?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna log out, come back.
Can David hear us?
Yes, David,
Yeah,
can you hear?
yeah, I hear you. She was having trouble. She was texting with me too, so that's why she was gonna log out.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes. Sorry about that.
Okay, Naomi, the floor is yours.
Okay, let me just share my screen here. Okay. Can you all see the affordability?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's been a few weeks since we last met, and so I'd like to provide you an update of all the things that have changed in the capital budget. As you know, this is a really busy time of year for funding, and so a lot of pieces of information come in from the state, impact fees, and so what I'd like to do is show you the application of all this funding and a scenario that puts us in a particular position, which is kind of summarized right here. And then what I'd like to do is go through the highlighter, which basically compares your preliminary decision to this particular scenario. Now, I should say this scenario kind of captures some of the general practices you all have used in prior years, where you try and give back to the multi-year recurring capital projects. You try and put back capital projects that you expressed an interest in. However, due to affordability, you've had to take a step back and temporarily remove them this fiscal year from the budget and program. So this scenario kind of captures that essence, but I'd like to go through it line by line to make sure that this is the position you'd like to be in, and if not, we can make changes this evening to make it more in line with what you would like to see. So this is the affordability comparison. scrolling down to the PAB preliminary, this number here was actually the original preliminary number. I believe the number in the formal letter that was given out was around 22 million. The difference being the deal library. If you recall, we kind of had this question out to Skip to see, which he wanted to include in his capital budget and program, whether that was going to be the Brooklyn elevator or whether it was going to be the Deal Library Edition. And he had come back a few weeks and indicated that he preferred to have Deal in there. So this scenario had Deal in it, but the letter actually had it removed, and that issue was addressed in project planning. So we'll go through that a little later, but I just wanted to provide that clarification there. So as you can see, it was over $20 million over affordability. And at this juncture, we're 9 million under, which is really great. That was actually a real struggle to get there. But we're very well positioned to be going into the county executive proposed budget with this scenario and to present to council. So what I'd like to do is move on to the highlighter report. Okay. Is this big enough? Can everyone see it? A little bigger?
A little bigger would be nice. Thank
Okay.
you.
So the top line here represents your preliminary PAB decision, and the bottom line represents this scenario, okay? And so where you see the gray indicates a change. So it really kind of calls out on what's changed since then. So just starting with the general county class, looking at central services, there was a multicultural center state grant for $5 million. The increase here is just our county contribution match toward this capital project. That's all. There's still a lot of unknowns about this project. So this is kind of just a placeholder for now until more information comes in about this particular project. Moving down, these two capital projects here, the facility renovation and county facilities systems upgrade, are multi-year recurring capital projects. If you recall, it was really tough with affordability, and so the recurring multi-year capital projects got down to plan. And then, of course, toward the end of this process, we always come back and see if there's any little extra money to put toward these capital projects. And so this is a small increase in their request. I don't know if you recall, but the county facilities original request, I think, was like $15 or $18 million. So it was brought back to plan at 6.8, but we were able to put a little bit more money toward that capital project, at least in fiscal year 25. The out years remain at plan. The CSSC water supply is the next project that changed. Originally, it was in the budget for 1.9, almost $2 million. However, since that time, we received an updated cost estimate, and that is actually now coming in at $2.7 million. So that has been updated to reflect that. The next modification is to the traffic maintenance facility upgrade. I don't know if you're aware, there was a fire. So the funding structure has been pulled forward in fiscal year 25 to make sure that there are resources available to move through and set up a temporary location if necessary. Well, temporary location and things of that nature. So you can see that has been pulled forward. The next capital project. Oh, okay. This was actually kind of neat. This came in last minute. Let me see if I can pull up the project page here for you. So this is called Digital Access DSP. We received a state grant for it. And this is really for the Homestretch Public Housing Grant Program. It basically addresses the digital divide with people who don't have access to the internet. So it basically helps implement solutions to deliver broadband to underserved residents. So the state grant is for $1.1 million, and the remaining 275 is the county match contribution toward this project. Moving on to the next one, the information technology enhancement This was originally recommended at 23 million. There's been a small increase in that. So part of that is due to the grants. Let me just see if I can pull up the project page here. See. Yeah, so we recalibrated the utility fund PAYGO. So we have that coming in, and we also have a federal grant coming in. So that's all good stuff. We did put a little funding in the out years. The plan was $9 million. However, in taking a look at the past few years, the past 5 years, it has not been $9 million in quite a while. So in order to try and address this and slowly bring it up to a more average number, we've integrated a little bit more funding in the out years. This doesn't address the issue completely, but it does address that it's there, and it's definitely something that we're going to have to reassess next year. Let's see here. Okay, rural legacy. Oh, okay. So originally the department had indicated that they didn't have any need for fiscal year 25 because they didn't think that there was anything in the pipeline. They now have promising leads. And so I just recommended that they put this back into the program, because should something come to fruition, we certainly want to make sure that those funds are available to move forward with whatever's there. There's I think it's a $75,000 county match on that one. Transportation operations facility. This has a small increase associated with storage expense. In this scenario, Ralph Bunch Community Center has been temporarily put on hold. Let's see here. Okay, are there any questions in the general county class before we move on to public safety? Okay. Public safety, let's see here. I think the only change is the Watchapel Fire Station replacement. Originally, it was in the budget for 27 million. This has actually been spread over 2 years, fiscal year 30 and fiscal year 31. So it's not a cut to the project. It's just due to scheduling and other things. This cost has been spread between 2 years. Let's see. Public safety radio systems upgrade. In this scenario, this project has been added back. This was a project that Jack had really expressed very, very strong need for. And so in this scenario, this has been put back. Let's see. I think. Oh, there were some original savings we thought that were going to be realized in capital projects. However, additional information's come in and we're not able to recognize them. So for example, Galesville Fire Station, we thought there'd be a savings of $56,000. More information's come in. Unfortunately, we're not able to realize that savings, and so it's been brought to zero. Same with the new police CID facility. See.
Naomi, sorry, I have a question. So
Sure.
I'm kind of along with you, and so are you on page 69 for the Galesville?
Oh, so this is actually the highlighter report rerun completely. So you don't have a copy of this.
Okay, because I was gonna say, under fire stations, we didn't even have Galesville listed.
Let me see here. Bear with me, Lee.
On our original one.
Oh, wow.
It's Crownsville Fire Station, Woodlawn Beach, Cape St. Clair, and Trenton. Generator. Galesville wasn't even on there.
Oh, I will have to look into that.
I think it's in the list with the unfunded. There's like, look further down.
Let me do a search. Sorry, that's my dog.
This is the summary. This isn't the breakdown. So, okay, it might be further down.
Okay,
I'm just on the summary highlighter report.
oh, here it is. It's on page 67.
Okay, I see it. Yep.
I'm like, had me nervous there for a second.
Sorry.
No, that's completely fine. I'm glad you asked. It's good to have questions. Okay, so that actually concludes public safety. Okay, this is Parks and Recreation. So there were some changes here. One of which is this Davidsonville Recreation Center. I'm sorry if my dog is really loud. I can let him out if you'd like, or okay. So I know this capital project you expressed tremendous interest in. However, due to affordability, you just weren't able to keep it in the budget and program. In this scenario, it has been added back. I know this is one of Recreations and Parks one of their top asks. So, and there was a lot of expense going out in order to maintain this facility. So it's great that we were able to kind of put that back in there. WB&A Trail actually went down, a couple of moving parts in there, but in our updated cost estimate. So that's a good thing. Moving on to greenways, parkland, and open space. This is POS money. And so originally they had thought that they'd be able to secure 6 million a year. That number has been reduced. And so you see all these figures kind of coming down in proportion to our anticipation now. School outdoor recreation facilities. This is actually a grant that we got in for 500,000. Park renovation. Oh, I'm sorry.
Doesn't that cover everything? Cause it was 327, yeah, okay. 500,000, good.
Park renovation is another multi-year recurring capital project. Again, this is one of those ones that we come back and visit and we try and put additional funding back in. This was not their original request, but we were able to increase it to 8.2 million in this scenario. The next change is Northwest Area Park Improvements. This project is holistically funded by the LDC VLT funding. Their letter has come out, and so that figure is now $500,000. It's to go toward a feasibility planning study for them, and so that's what that number represents. Cars Wharf. It looks like the savings that we were hoping to realize weren't as large, so it's now only a savings of 100,000, but we'll take it. Here. Bacon Ridge Severn Chapel. Okay, that was originally 1.7 million. Due to updated cost estimates, that's now coming in at 2.2 million. And the final change for Recreation and Parks is associated with Crownsville Memorial Park. This is actually a grant that is coming. So
Naomi, I have a question with Recs and Parks.
Sure.
West County Swim Center, where did we leave? We would discuss that and where are we with that?
Okay, that has not changed since the last time we met. It is still
Off the table.
It's completely off the table, or did we fund engineering work for feasibility?
So there is 3.9 million in the capital project. I don't know that it's completely 3.9 million. I think that there has been some expenditure posted to it, but there is a couple of $1 million available to keep the project moving forward. I can certainly look into that for you if you want to know the exact dollar amount.
I was just wondering where we left off with that. So.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
Big question was where?
Yeah, they don't know where you're.
That was the problem.
They're trying to get federal.
So we're giving them money for, yet we don't know where it's gonna be.
yeah, so it was approved previously. So it's funding that had already been approved by council. It's just hasn't been touched. So there's no new additional appropriation being added to the capital project until more information can come forward. Okay. Okay. I don't think that there's actually roads and bridges. I don't think that there's actually Oh, okay, multi-year recurring capital projects. So we made a small increase to road resurfacing of 1 million and road reconstruction of $500,000. So that's nice. And that was roads and bridges. Does anyone have any questions on that? I feel like I'm moving quickly, so. Okay, transportation, Stevensonville Drive. It looks like there was, I think we added back the program. I think the original discussion was to have, let me just double check here. Due to affordability, we kept plans and engineering in this scenario, we actually add the construction and overhead. And if I understand this correctly, this is associated with Quarterfield Elementary School and Old Mill Middle School. So it was definitely one of the higher priorities of the department. And so we were able to add that piece back in. Okay, okay, that's transportation. Traffic control. Okay, again, these are multi-year recurring capital projects. This was a small increase that the department requested along with this one. So we added a couple $100,000 back there to meet their need. Dredging. Again, similar scenario, there were a couple capital projects in which we thought there could be savings. However, that is not the case. Okay, nothing there, nothing there. School offsite. We were able to increase the out-year funding by a smidge. And that just brought it back to fiscal year 24 approved plan. Okay, moving on to Board of Education. So as you know, Board of Ed it's a component unit. So the Office of Budget sat down with Board of Education, and basically we went through the funding and what we were able to afford. And it really worked out really well. So they were able to reduce some of their asks, come to the table with some give backs because projects are closing and there's significant savings to be realized, and then requested that some of their capital projects have specific increases, not in all of them, but there were a couple of them. They're like, no, we really need funding in this one. You can actually reduce this request. The net impact of it all with regard to affordability, I think, was $1 million. So it really worked out well. They feel very comfortable with this scenario. We feel really comfortable with this scenario. So I can just go through it quickly. Health and safety, I think this was brought back to plan. Security related upgrades, they were looking for 2 million. Maintenance backlog, they were looking for additional funding along with roof replacement, but they were able to reduce their request for relocatable classrooms down to 400. They're requesting the 2 million in school bus replacement and to upgrade various schools. However, they reduced additions from 4 to 2.8 million. For athletic stadium improvements, I believe they had a couple specific projects that they wanted to do in 25, and so they're looking for 3.75, along with $1 million add to driveways and parking lots. With George Cromwell Elementary School, they were able to give us back 117. With regard to Old Mill North, the project total has not changed. They've just changed the schedule based on updated information that they have. So the project's still fully funded. These are the numbers they gave us. Edgewater, they're able to give back almost $1 million. Tyler Heights, they were able to give back a little over 400,000. Richard Henry Lee, they were able to give back a little over $500,000. Crofton Area High School, they were able to give back 4 million. And then again, on Old Mill High School, the total project cost did not change. This is just a change in schedule that, again, due to updated information, this is where the project's at this juncture. So again, there are a lot of ins, and there are a lot of outs. Our hope also is that when the IAC finalizes their numbers, we might just get a couple $1 million more. Keeping my fingers crossed on that one, but from an affordability standpoint and their revised request, revised request, I should say, that this kind of meets both needs of the county and the Board of Ed. Does anyone?
I mean, it should be noted that Board of Education is giving money back,
Yes.
yet our construction projects 9 times out of 10 are way over. Their construction projects are money back. Should be noted.
There was a breakup in the audio. Was there a question or were you just making?
Making a statement, making
Oh,
a
okay.
statement.
No,
The
okay.
people who are doing their construction projects are more on budget than those who are doing our county construction projects.
Mm.
And I was just saying, it should be noted that Board of Education is giving money back, and our construction projects have been way over budget.
That project was bought
Duly noted.
6 years ago. It was estimated.
Your papa agrees.
$45 million project. Elizabeth, I'll just interject my opinion on that. If you look at Old Mill High School now, currently, $205 million is what that high school is going to cost. When it was proposed 6 or 7 years ago, it was estimated to be $145 million project.
Good point,
So
good point.
Crofton, and I know it's a smaller school, but Crofton High School completed, I just noted that was $124 million. And now Old Mill is at 205. That's quite a big difference. Okay, Naomi, moving forward.
Okay. Moving on to the community college. Okay, HCAT relocation. I know the last time we spoke I had let you know that this was a project that the community college really was very time sensitive about. And in this scenario, we were able to meet their timing needs. Originally, you all had this in fiscal year 30 coming online. And really, my understanding was that was made just due to affordability. You really acknowledged the project and the importance of it. But due to affordability, we just weren't able to kind of squeeze it in. In this scenario, we're able to meet their original request of starting in fiscal year 28. This capital project, I believe, is 50% state funded.
We
Yes.
also need to note, though, that it needed the county commitments. Have they gotten that?
Well, that's what this budget does.
Okay.
Okay, and then campus improvements. Let's see, let me just check this one. This was the one that we had an adjustment to the Systemics project because they had the careers roof replacement categorized into the wrong capital project. And so we were able to put it in this one. We were also able to bring the out years back to approved plan. I know there was a slight haircut there, again, I believe was made due to affordability on this project. And the community college is contributing $1 million of their own PAYGO. Dragon. Oh, so both Dragon and Floristano, again, the project costs have not changed. The change is due to scheduling. So these are the latest numbers from the community college. Any questions on the community college? Library. Okay, I think in this scenario, we're able to bring library renovation, the out years back to approved plan. Library project planning was increased to address the Deal Library Edition and explore that project further. And so that project is not in here. Additionally, the Brooklyn Park Library elevator, the library came back to the table and said, you know, look, we really want to look at some other options here. Let's put this on hold. The $407,000 in there should be able to address that issue, but the $3.5 million for an elevator was significant. They felt that they should put this on hold and look at other avenues to address the issue, and indicated again that the Deal Library Edition was a priority. So kind of both items there that they were concerned about have been addressed in this scenario. You can see here the deal. It's been removed, but it's actually $250,000 is in library project planning. Are there any questions on library? Okay, that concludes the general fund. Again, there have been a lot of ins. Some of the funding changes we have found out that we're able to get $17.5 million in bond premium, which is really, really great. So that kind of contributed to this number coming down significantly. Another major heavy factor was impact fees. I think we're able to put in $18 million of impact fees, along with some of the grants coming in, projects out and in. The net effect is the 9.2, but the two huge changes in funding sources were impact fees and bond premium. That was really what was allowed us to come up with this version of the budget. So at this time, I don't know if there's any projects that you want to go into more detail, or if there were projects that I didn't touch on that you wanted to kind of revisit.
Board members, are there any projects that we want to discuss individually? Or is everything okay as we've done with Naomi's presentation? We've kind of talked about everything. I do have two questions. One's a question, and in the budget office, Naomi, has there been any talk about any long-term effects with the Key Bridge collapse that would affect our budget?
I have not heard anything, but that's not to say that there haven't been any conversations. I'm not at that level at this time, but there's nothing in this capital budget and program that would need to be baked in that we're aware of at this time. So.
Okay, and then next I have a comment, and Jessica, I'd like to put this in our letter to the council and county executive. The comment would be that although for 2025, we have found a way to fund most of the projects that are ongoing and need to be done. But to note, very importantly, that we have brought back to plan the out years in many of these reoccurring projects. And what will happen is in 26, we'll fund them and then bring them back to plan and so on. So we're really just kicking the can down the road, but all of these, and I'm looking through the pages and pages of the line items, and I have notes, back to plan, back to plan, back to plan.
Yeah.
So, we've solved 25 and this budget works out over a 5-year period, but next year that same comment back to plan is going to be reoccurring. So eventually there's going to have to be more money found. Comments from board members?
So you're gonna note that and
In our letter to the
Okay.
county council.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, with that, Dawn, anything from you?
Nope.
Okay, so we've had our deliberations. What I would like is a motion to approve the final PAB recommendation of FY 25 through 30, the CIP budget.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second,
All right, so there's a motion on the table to approve the budget as was presented to us this evening with the changes that Naomi has presented. All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Any nays? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Naomi.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Naomi.
Mr. Chair, I know I called out some of the, ongoing projects in the interim letter. I just wanted to see if I got your note about the ongoing multi-year projects and how every year, due to inflation and other reasons, they keep increasing their requests, keep putting them back in the plan, and how that's not sustainable. Was there anything else that the board would like to highlight in the final budget deliberation letters?
I think that we should note that we are in support of the West County Swim Center. But they're gonna have to figure out where it's gonna be built first. That we understand we cut, it was a big cut, I don't know, it was 20 million, 20-some million dollars, something. And that we should recognize that that is a very needed project. But you can't fund something that you can't build, and right now we don't have land to build it on.
and along with that, don't quote me on this yet till we figure it out. I think, we talked about the elevator at Brooklyn Park, and we talked about upgraded restrooms at Maryland's library,
Right. Right.
at Maryland, Maryland
City
City,
Library.
which obviously is needed, but can't have a $5 million, right? 500, no. It was astronomical. And the same with the restroom. We understand the need, we want to make it compliable, we want to do everything we can to make it ADA accessible and everything else. However, I think that it needs to be, it's a budgetary challenge. I don't know, I mean, we want to do right by our citizens and make it accessible to all. But it also has to be affordable. However you. want to
Okay.
do that, Leslie.
It is 6:39, moving right along. We're right on pace here. We have a transit development plan. So the Planning Advisory Board is going to hear testimony. I mean, last meeting, and now, did we have any written testimony that came in after?
The planning advisory board received 2 letters, one from the women voters and one from the Greater Suburban Park Council. I think our friends from the Office of Transportation are prepared to give the highlights and kind of discuss their analysis of those letters, before we jump into any further comments and questions from you all.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, the first letter was from, don't usually go over what the letter said. Okay. So, the first letter was from the League of Women Voters in Arundel County, and generally was supportive, of public transit expanding and serving more areas. So there was a general support for transit.
That was the League of Voters. Maryland
League of Women
Voters.
And then the other letter was the Greater Suburban Park Council, and they were in attendance last time, and one of the main points they brought up. But was one of the bigger concerns was not so much, was the concern with the bus route that went through Suburban Park along Benfield Boulevard. So, and I think they talked about a little bit this before when they were here, but they.
That was a bus, that we're concerned about the bus route from, or proposed from NSA to community college.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, one of their concerns was the fact that if you just Benfield Boulevard, it's 2 lanes and it has a lot of traffic. And then, another concern in there was the cost of the service. And again, they use, quoted numbers for the plan, the TDP, that cost says $28 a trip, which would be $56 a round trip, $280 a week if they went 5 days a week, and $11,000 per passenger per year. So and they were requesting to delete that route from the plan. And then they would be okay, I guess, with the rest of the plan. So, and the only thing I will point out is, they are correct. The base, if you look, and I don't know if we can pull it up or I can just tell you where to look. But, the costs for the 3 new routes are all actually the same. They're all programmed at $28 a trip. And that's how the ridership was estimated. Because they averaged, if you look at table 5.4, which is on page 510. Pull it up. In any case, as she's pulling it up, so they used an average of 4 of the main routes in the county, the 201, 202, gold and yellow. And when we saw that $28 a trip number, me and Andy were kind of surprised and went back and did a little more digging. But if you, 510 shows the proposed new routes, the costs and the riderships.
116.
Yeah, sorry, 116 in the previous. So that's the cost. And if you divide out each one of these, so that the proposed hours is based on the length of the route and the hours of service that is run on the other. So that gets you to operating costs, just the average cost per hour operate, and then the projected ridership again was based on similar routes, as you can see from the notes below. So, but when we dug a little bit deeper, if you go to page 32 of the PDF, they use the top 4 routes to generate the cost per trip of this table, and you can see right there in that 4th column, the operating cost per passenger trip, $11, $12, $22, and $121, and that's what pushes that average up to $28 a trip. We went back and looked, and at this time when it was done, it was FY22, which was 21-22. It was right after the pandemic, and we had again shifted from the pandemic hours to post-pandemic hours, expanded our routes back to providing more service, and then we also added the gold extension, which added a lot more hours. At that time, the ridership was based on the old service, so it hadn't caught up yet. It was like 8,000 or something.
Yeah, it went from 6,000 to 8,000. That gold line there, which is by far the highest number, that was one route that we split into, doubled up on buses, doubled up on drivers, and this was right after it entered into service, so ridership hadn't started gaining that, which is why it's so high.
So now I don't, well, cost wise, again, this is rider dependent, cost per trip. You know, the service costs generally, if you run a service, it costs what it costs, and then if you double your ridership, of course, it's half the cost, but it's still a cost.
Yeah.
So obviously, the better we do, and you know, get the word out more, and more people are aware of the service and use it, then the cost per trip would go down. But currently, our last month, we opened Arundel, we report a lot of data. And our latest data was around $15 a trip. It's what countywide, the average of all the costs and all the trips. So we're doing better. A lot of that is because our ridership growth, again, the costs are what the costs are, although actually the costs are increasing there, like everything else. But for example, the gold route, the last gold route for this fiscal year, and it's not quite complete. It's got a couple more months, but it's at 21,000 rides for the gold route alone. And when they did the analysis, it was at 8,000. So, you know, obviously the cost probably went up, but because we more than doubled the ridership, the cost would go down. So
in your estimate with the gold cost per passenger trip, what is that currently cost now?
The current
It's
cost.
not at 121.
No, right, so, we didn't actually do that analysis, but if it was at 21,000, it's at least half, if not one, what's eight,
We were at 8,000, we're at 21,000 now, so.
that's a couple months left to go. in.
Right, so we're probably looking at 50 to 60, don't quote us, but something close to that.
Mhm.
And that is the highest price route on there. The 201 and the 202 are our highest traveled lines. You can see that drops down to 11 to 12. High ridership equals low cost per trip. It's a very scalable system. That's what mass transit is. So we expect that to be the same case with Gold, and with the Crofton, which we also had, just expanded when this snapshot in time was taken. So the $28 per trip, we really don't think is accurate. When we look at it now, we're looking at, it's closer to 15, and that's gonna drop in the future. That would be the case for this new route. To address some of her other concerns, she also mentioned that Benfield Boulevard is, often very congested. It's a large commuter route. A bus does not add to congestion. It
Just
reduces
reduces
it. A 12
Right.
passenger bus is a net loss of 11 vehicles from the road, not
Those
one
riders.
more. Yes, so that,
Yeah, and to be fair, we are doing a study of Benfield Boulevard, looking at, we've, just, I don't know if we did the kickoff. But anyway, we're starting this year, we'll be starting a study of Benfield Road for congestion, for bike ped, for a lot of things. So we can incorporate some of their concerns about where would the bus pull off and not impede traffic. Those kinds of things can be incorporated into that study too, and that would be complete. You know, this was, I think, year 3. We're lucky, you know, we get all these equipment in year 3, so we would be done the study and be able to know what we would need to do as a part of the implementing that service.
Quick question, saw the Brooklyn Park Express, why was that so high?
Is that the cost again?
Yeah.
Again, I think a lot of it is when they did this, again, it was between coming out of the pandemic, expanding hours, and then it was a new service. And everything's been going up, and people weren't aware of the service. So
we had adopted that one. That was run by, I think, RTA or MTA.
Brooklyn Park is new.
It was a service that we adopted from another agency, so whenever there's a transfer, there's always a little bit of confusion with riders about who's operating the service now, so. Like with all our rides, that the ridership is much higher now than when we first started. I actually just expanded that to, meet a request by the. What's it, Office of Corrections? Yeah,
Convention Center.
yeah, so we actually expanded that. And that brings me to my next point. These are not done in a vacuum. We reach out and sometimes people reach out to us asking for more transit services. The route that was proposed goes from Fort Meade to Anne Arundel Community College. Both of those places have reached out to us and asked us to increase transit services. Anne Arundel Community College has asked us, they're very happy that we did the Gold extension that goes from the light rail to the college down to Annapolis, all in one route. But they want more east-west options, and that's what we're lacking right now, is any true east-west options that cut through the middle of the county. So that would, this really is a good route. It connects 2 major hubs that are requesting transit services. It bridges that east-west gap, which would cut travel times by about 90 minutes. And we do not expect a $28 rider, maybe at the very beginning, just when it starts, because that's how it always works with new transit lines, but we expect a far lower cost per trip.
Can you please, clarify that? And I think, Brian, you mentioned we're looking at year 3
Yes.
for this?
For the implementation of that was in the year 3 of the 5-year plan.
And, is there funding that would be required in order to implement this?
Yes. Yeah, so each one of these would need funding every route. And so again, you know, with each budget cycle, we'll be requesting funds to implement each service, new service. So we'll see what we get this.
And has the county considered requesting the ridership be supplemented with federal dollars for those federal employees?
So, well, it's fare free for us now, but, I mean, we're not charging any, so.
I understand that, but the federal government pays for your Metro card. Federal government pays for,
Right,
bus
they,
fare.
they provide a subsidy to the employees.
correct, and if they're getting it for free, that should be coming to the county, not to the employee.
Right. No, I got you. I mean, we've had discussions about it, but it typically involves charging a fare and then getting reimbursed, so. But that's something we could look into.
I'd like to include that in that, because,
Why shouldn't we get a piece of what?
yeah,
they're
I
getting?
mean,
We've
if
talked about that.
if they get a free Metro card,
Right.
then the county should be
Get some of that, right?
receiving that instead of the
I
person.
think there's some qualifiers. Some people get it free, but some is deducted from their paycheck. I mean, I think there's a variety. It's been a long time since
I can tell
I deal
you,
with that.
most
but
people
It's
get
get
it free.
for free.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you are a military member, you get it free.
Well,
And if you're going
I
to
know
Fort Meade
military, so.
and you're going to NSA, you're either a contractor or a military member, so you get a Metro card.
No, not necessarily. I have a family member that's not military and
That works on NSA?
he does not get a car. So, I think it's safe to say, I mean, I think, as we've talked about the numbers and everything, that per your comment, it's the ridership is gonna go up. We've got over 80% of respondents said that they wanted more public transportation. So with more publicity and getting the word out and just kind of building that momentum post-pandemic, these numbers will go down, ridership will go up, and hopefully, in effect, the traffic won't continue to get worse, but we're adding to our population, so there's some, argument for let's just not make it any worse than it is. Hopefully, we can get enough people in public transportation and build those hubs and those routes to suffice for that. And I missed the last presentation, but I have a question, Jesse. I don't know if you could maybe bring up figure 4.1 or 4-1, which is the population density. I don't have a number. It's a population density map.
I can control F and see if that works.
I don't know what the page number is, but it's a map that shows the population density. And it talks about how the 2000 when the density is at least 2,000 people. Yes, that starts to make public transportation viable. And I don't know the history of the map, but my request for next year or next version, is that 5 years? Would be to maybe use different colors, because I had a really hard time going, is this the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 orange? Is my first request, being a graphic person. And my second request is, if 2,000 people is such an important number, can the designations actually have a 2,000 in them rather than 1,000 to 5,000? Because I also couldn't tell where those hubs really were of the density. I just think that might help with clarity in the future. And if you get it done before the next 5 years, will you send it to me?
Well, you can adjust it before they submit it.
Yeah. we can adjust it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's just, the colors are easy, I know I'm sure it's all easy. Okay.
So does
Okay.
this letter? I think we should acknowledge in our comments that we understand the concerns, that you have reviewed it a second time, adjusted the numbers accordingly, and give some data back to them, because they took time to come to the meeting, they took time to submit, and so we need to acknowledge this to the council.
And we can include it in the appendix of the report. We have the other comment from our public meeting. We could also include this in the appendix as well. And we'll do a response, we have a response to comments for the public comments, so we can also provide a response to these two.
And
That'd be
it's
great.
really great that they triggered that because it, you know, highlighted it for them to go back and say, okay, what's going on here and gave us an update. So that's great.
So
They
we know
did
that
that.
information back.
Yeah, yeah, so we'll include that.
Thank you.
Can't you recalculate your ridership cost now?
Yeah,
And
we could
and
update that. based
update
on
that
the
current
most recent-
information?
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
And that would be a really good recommendation because it's
Yes.
that 126,
Yeah.
you know,
It won't
cost
be
per
so
ridership.
skewed.
It just throws everything off,
Yeah.
so.
And like, what are we paying for here?
It would have been nice if we had been in existence for 20 years, because then we could show COVID as a blip, but unfortunately,
Yes.
That's fair.
we came into existence about 18 months before it did, so.
Well, I do understand the Greater Suburban Park Council's concerns, and we did hear them, and we had their written comments. I will say, I think that both of you have given a good presentation on why you have proposed that route. So,
Mhm.
we have talked about
And that
that,
was to
and
be noted. That
Yeah.
was requested.
Yep. Okay, other than a recommendation to update the cost ridership per mile with current data, is there any other changes to the transportation plan as it's been presented?
At the graph.
You're right.
And the
map,
graph, the color chart,
and then we'll
the
do a
map?
Response to
The
the
number.
comments at the appendix, including the 2 letters.
Mhm. Any other changes? Okay, any other comments? Because if we have those changes noted, if there's no other comments, then we're gonna need a motion.
I motion to accept the transportation development plan as amended.
A second.
Second, okay, there's been a motion made to accept the transportation development plan as we discussed and have made a few amendments to. All in favor? Aye.
I-
Aye.
Transit development.
Transit development
Yes,
plan.
that's-
That, I'm sorry.
Transportation.
Transit. Any nays? Okay, motion is approved. Okay,
I think the next. item-
this is administrative, so they can roll with it. We're rolling. Yeah, you guys are good. Thank you very much.
Meeting. It's
Yep.
downstairs, well,
Okay, so there's administrative items with the Office of Planning and Zoning, and I do have a copy of the rules and procedures and bylaws for the Planning Advisory Board that were sent out.
Um,
Yep.
Introduce this, you know, after the public hearing last year for Region 2 for incentive plan, where, we had a dozen people come and testify, we had a very long meeting. We wanted to think through, how that public testimony is addressed within the procedures and bylaws. So that was kind of the initiative into it. It's also good practice for really just every, 2 years, pick this up, and take a look at it. It was last revised in 2018, so it's time in 25 years. So there's, you'll see red line strikeout changes in the document itself. And there's a few kind of themes to what's in there. Some of it is updating language to kind of be contemporary, instead of making things gender neutral, instead of chair man, if I chair man, which is quite chair, if I take the gender out of it. Also some notes about, recording of these meetings. We don't have to use tapes. So just to, kind of utilize that, having the audio video recording, that could be and to align it with our record retention of 5 years, for how long these meetings are recorded. And then when it comes to the public comment piece, we included some language around that kind of aligns with what the county council has recently done in their language around public participation. Just because they have had some demonstrations and things at council, so there's been some best practices that have been shared around other local governments about how to kind of make sure that you got language in place that, kind of puts in black and white what your rules of decorum are around that. We don't have people waving flags and things like that in the meeting. So that we don't, and then It states that, who will be warned if they're, kind of speaking out of turn, and that the chair then has the authority to ask someone to leave and to stop the meeting if it is too disruptive. And these are backstop, we've had, public was helped us very well in the meetings that we had last year. And there's some very passionate topics we're talking about, but I think everyone presented themselves with the quorum, with poise. But this is to have the backstop in case, things get out. Also, a couple notes just on the way we organize speakers. We found it very useful last year because we're looking at the geography of these different regions, had people who kind of had comments about the same, say, marina or the same neighborhood. You go ahead and put them together so they can speak. And your rules by letter say you speak in the order that you sign up. And so we want to make sure that this has the flexibility to say that, the chair has the ability to arrange by topic as necessary. That's just kind of make sure that, again, it's a pretty common sense thing to do. You want to make sure that you've got the letter of that statement in your bylaws to allow you to breathe. And then the idea about timing, in county council, we speak for 2 minutes. Everyone gets that same 2 minutes. We had 2 minutes as our base with the planning advisory board, but they also had a 5-minute board if you were the, head of a HOA or something. We got sort of take that all down to 2 minutes, and the chair always has the ability to give someone the allowance to take longer. But we have, 20, 40, 60, 80 people signed up, give them to 5 minutes. That could be hours and hours of time. That, again, if it's needed, you have the discretion to allow it, but to make that not the default, the default is. Anything else I want to point out to?
One piece from me, we currently do a public notice and an agenda. I don't know if you've noticed, but the public notice already has agenda items on there. The main difference being that the agenda is just posted a little later in the week. And it includes, times, which are often flexible, even in the case of tonight, we kind of run them over a little bit. So there is a proposal to combine the public notice and agenda, and as long as that public notice goes out no later than 10 days preceding the meeting, that there not be an agenda associated with it. Of course, I can email you all in the interim just to bump that up in your inbox, but I don't have to create 2 documents then.
Okay, I did have one question. On page 2, under meetings, Article 3. The section 1, under regular meetings, it says at least 10 regular monthly meetings per year shall be held.
Yeah. We don't always set that, do we?
We haven't done that.
And that is in the county charter. So it mirrors language in the charter. We don't feel like we can change that in the bylaws. The charter supersedes all that. Yeah, it's a little funny thing that, next time there's the ability to amend the charter, it might be useful for somebody to take a look at that.
Yeah, we've probably done at least 7 or 8 monthly meetings, but we have not generally done 10.
Right, and that's just because this board meetings are needed when there are, master plans and budgets to look at, which is not enough of that to make it always be.
I have to admit, I read that as 10. I skipped over the monthly,
Yeah,
and I just said 10 meetings a year.
So
Have we ever met less than 10 times a year?
in the charter, in the charter, does it say monthly meeting specifically, or does it say 10 meetings? Because we may look at that and we may be able to revise this where it says at least 10 meetings per year.
We meet that threshold.
But we do meet that threshold.
Right.
And if the charter does not specifically say monthly meetings, let's review that language and I would rather this be really more in compliance with what we actually do, because I know we probably don't meet 10 monthly
No.
meetings a year.
No.
So that's my only comment. And then, on page 3, under section 8, meetings open to the public, let me see here what you put here. There was a comment that the alternative to be written more as a positive than a negative. Do
I see, yes.
you see what I'm saying? What,
Yes, so, everything that was adopted previously is in here for you to see. And then, multiple people took a look at this to look through and make sure everything's, Mike and I did, and then also, Cindy, Christina, Office of Law. And so just that there was previously a different version of this statement. And then this one was written afterwards and it was just in the text, so I forgot to add it as a comment to the side that wasn't sent to you. But we agreed on this version of it, minus that bracketed bit.
okay, so that's my comment is we're gonna take that bracketed comment out, okay?
Yes.
Is there something that we should be adding about Zoom? About that you qualify as attending via Zoom in order to meet quorums and all that, or is that understood and?
That's, yeah, what does it say about video attendance?
So I think you're correct. I just did a quick control F for hybrid and Zoom. We don't see it. We probably wouldn't use Zoom, but maybe virtual, like try that.
Virtual, hybrid,
I'm not seeing that, but we could.
That's something you're supposed to be explicit about. Yeah, and that question sometimes comes up about by phone in or come on Zoom, but that's still kind of a forum, and we eventually get that. Would be good to explicit.
Yeah.
virtual. I didn't mean to say Zoom, because it could be Meet or whatever, but virtually,
I know,
or. Yeah, that counts as phone or whatever.
We don't need to vote on this tonight, right? We can make those changes and then do this later, okay? But Elizabeth, that's well noted. I think we should have rules in there that the virtual does count as attendance.
Needs good form. And it gets very technical, but you start with a quorum, and then you lose a quorum. I run into that. Never gonna happen.
you guys feel comfortable, if, and the next time you see this, I remove some of the redlining, so you can see a more cleaned up version of the things we've discussed tonight. We'll add in a statement about the Zoom, but then you won't see so many of the dashes through the adopted language. Is that all right by you all? Yes.
Yep.
Dawn, any comments about the bylaw changes?
No, I thought they were good. I especially appreciated the updated language on the public meetings as well, after the experience of last fall.
Okay, so you're gonna check on the wording about regular monthly meetings and see if we can get around that, so. All righty. With that, is there any other business to be brought for the board?
I think the next agenda items that we'll have here will be the measures, annual measures and indicators report. That's very similar to the data that's presented in that schools report, that summary of the developments that are in the subdivision process, building permit, as well as changes and updates to the zoning code. So we'll have that review coming up for you guys next month. Let's see, we'll have a water sewer master plan amendment as well come before you. So the next meeting is likely to be on May 8th, and then in June, we'll do that annual report.
Right now, those are both one topic meetings. So if we talk to folks and find out that meeting's gonna be about 30 minutes.
We can do it virtually. Yep.
I'm virtual.
Yeah.
For May 8th, regardless.
When is the
So am I.
June.
Yeah, when is that going to be? May or June?
May 8th, May 22,
We can do those virtual.
June 26th, and July 10th.
I would discourage
Oh,
June
yeah.
from May 22nd,
No, I'm not. at that.
you angels.
Oh, we'll see what we can do.
Okay, yeah.
And then,
They'll be over by 6 p.m. No, I'm teasing.
and I'll be really in the mood to come.
That will be virtual. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be virtual.
Maybe we do a special date for that.
And you've avoided the high school graduation week in June, so that's helpful. Thank you.
So May.
Not
8th is
you, but
our-
our calendar, I should
I
say.
think May 8th is our next.
So May 8th is
Yeah.
our next one.
Can I also ask, when you do can we see the I don't know, you have to wait, the school utilization chart? Can we see that in draft? And can that be, linked to this school? What is
Yeah,
this report called?
the latest school utilization chart is attached as an appendix to the school construction.
The latest?
There is one in there,
Cause that's 22. Okay, I'll look. I can email you and find out. I didn't. Um,
Okay, anything else?
study that some more.
just for general reference for the planning advisory board, update on region plans. As you know, regions 2 and 7 are currently in front of council. Region 4 to be introduced in the next month or so. And then for regions 1, 3, and 9, those stakeholder advisory committees are actively meeting. They're beginning to discuss the application for zoning changes that were submitted by owners. Staff recommended zoning changes. It's anticipated that those will then come out, those zoning maps and land use maps will come out for public review in the summer, probably July timeframe for public review. And then again, we've got our dates penciled in for the fall for public testimony on the draft plan. And we're already starting for the last of the 3. So that'd be, the last one would be regions 5, 6, 8. 5 is kind of the Odenton, Gambrels, Profit area. 6 is Crownsville, and 8 is South County, located in Harwood in the interior of South County. The coastal area of South County are region 9 and correct. So we have websites launched for those, beginning our public outreach efforts, we have stakeholder reviews, start to go to community festivals, fairs, and events. And we'll be beginning soliciting applications for those stakeholder advisory committees in May, and that's the May to June window for those. So if you know folks in those areas, encourage them to apply, and those committees work well when they can be as diverse as we can get them. Representative reviews,
And I would encourage anybody, if they can, to sit in an SAC meeting. And you hear the discussions and so on, and that you would much more understand it than when it gets here, you're more educated.
Region 9 is tomorrow night, isn't it? That's,
they have a drop-in session tomorrow daytime.
Oh, that's
That's
good.
for like their public information set. They just had another.
The school utilization chart is on page 65 out of 86. So it is part of that. One other question, and I tried to look, but I haven't looked lately. Are those applications that skip the SAC, skip the PAB, and went directly to county council currently posted on the website?
I believe they are.
What would they be called? County council changes to
The amendments. to the plan.
amendments?
Let me check back to see how that's posted. I've not been in the details of that.
I'm curious because I've heard that there's quite a few. And I'm curious, like 15 in one region.
So I think they're listed with the bill as amended.
I'm just personally curious, and that's one of my concerns about this bill that is cutting off
Absolutely,
notice
absolutely.
in half.
I'm already too short.
7 days, you can't get much done.
So, that'd be great if you could let us know how to do that. For 2 and
I don't know who.
7. Cause we haven't, and do we have a date when 4 is
I
gonna
have the policy.
actually be introduced?
Not for me, yet.
Not yet, okay. That's what I thought, but not on Monday.
It could actually be a student Monday.
Oh, okay.
Okay, anything else? Dawn, anything? If not, I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? All right, all in favor?
I.
Aye, this
Aye.
meeting is adjourned. Okay, good night.
Bye.
Bye, Dawn, thank you.
Bye. Bye.